Hello everyone. Have you ever been in a situation where your manager is not giving you enough work and whenever you do any work, you get criticized for it? Well, today I'm going to respond to a Reddit post where the author is going through this very scenario. I've actually known a few people who've gone through a similar situation to this, so I think it'd be a very helpful and useful story to go walk through so that if you find yourself in this situation, you know what to do and how to interpret the things that go on. Now, that being said, this is a longer post, so I am going to break it up into smaller pieces so it's a bit easier to respond to and to go through. And I'm also going to go out and paraphrase it here and there just in the interest of time. Now, on to the post. Does my boss want me to quit? I got this job a couple months ago. On paper, it was my dream job, but as the weeks started to go by, I realized I didn't have a lot of responsibilities, I didn't feel challenged, and was actually quite bored a lot of the time. Meanwhile, the coworkers on my team always seemed so busy with actual work. Don't get me wrong, I had some stuff to do, but nothing that was ever challenging. I began asking my boss if there was more that I could do to help out with, and they kept saying no, or that with time, things will pick up. Now, first off, I feel terrible for this author that they are stuck in this situation. This really happens when there is a mismatch between what leadership thinks is required to do a job and what is actually required by a situation on the ground. And when there is this mismatch, adding extra people to a team just creates bloat. And it sounds like the author here was unfortunately the last one to join the team, and as such, they drew the short straw when it came to the workload. There's just nothing for them to do. Now, if you find yourself in this kind of situation, what I would advise is to go out and spend time to really brainstorm new projects and basically invent work for yourself. If no one else is going to give you work, you got to create your own. And also, if this busy time of the year comes around that the manager talks about and you don't get any extra work during that time, I would seriously go out and start looking for a new job. When you're in this situation, there is a big temptation to go slack off. And when that happens, your skills deteriorate, your work ethic deteriorates, nothing good can happen. So when that happens, you just gotta move on. Continuing on with the post. On top of that, every time my boss gave me feedback on the work I did have, it was extremely vague. And he also didn't provide me with any training. It became clear to me my boss didn't seem to love how I would do certain things, but then wouldn't provide me with any specific feedback on how to get better. Nonetheless, I persisted. I've been trying to put effort into everything that I do and help my coworkers with their projects to at least show that I'm a helping hand. Now, first off, I give a lot of credit here to the author of the post that they are volunteering to help out others on the team. They could just sit back and relax and do absolutely nothing, but that's not them. That's not the choice that they made. They want to be helpful, and they are stepping up to go out and be helpful. So awesome, good on them. That's the kind of person that you want to have on the team. Now, as for this manager though, they seem to be falling down in the job. It is a critical part of a manager's job to go out and coach and train people to perform the job adequately and to reach the next level of performance. And this person is not doing that. Moreover, they seem to have an idea about what the author is doing wrong in their work, and they're not giving specific advice about what needs to be corrected. That's unacceptable. If you want someone to improve, you gotta give them the feedback that they need so that they can improve. And this person is just not doing that. So, not sure why. We'll probably see hopefully more the further on we go. So, let's read. Last week, my boss had another meeting with me and asked me to take more initiative and not rely on him in the work that I was doing. I was really confused by the sentiment, considering I've offered to help more with the things for him and my other coworkers. But nonetheless, I said, okay, and decided I would try to take more initiative in any way. That same day in the afternoon, I made a small decision on a project we're working on to show that I'm not relying on him. And my boss berated me for it. At this point, I feel like I'm getting mixed signals. When I take initiative, my work gets altered or I'm berated at. When I stay back and let my boss control things, they seem annoyed too. Plus, their attitude in general to me isn't very friendly. I get the vibe that they don't like me, and I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells. Now, this is actually a very revealing paragraph to me. The manager is telling the author to go out and take initiative, which runs counter to what the author was saying they were already doing earlier in the post. On top of that, the author is saying that the manager's advice is very harsh, it's very critical, and the author does not appreciate it when the work is being altered and changed after the fact. Now, if you read between the lines here a little bit, this seems to indicate a mismatch in skills and expectations between the manager and the author. The author seems to feel that taking initiative means asking for directions, taking orders, and hopping on any available projects to do work. Whereas the manager feels that taking initiative means to go out and find problems, organize work around those problems, and solve them without any guidance or direction whatsoever. This is a tremendous source of conflict between these two, and it's probably a big reason why things are going downhill. Being an order taker is fine if you are a junior employee. After all, you're new, you don't know very much, you need a lot of direction until you master the position. And the author of this post definitely falls into that category. I forgot to mention it earlier, I apologize, but in the comments to this post, they actually said that they are fresh out of college and this is their first job out of school. So apologies, I forgot to share that little bit of context there. However, the manager also seems to have higher expectations of this position, which implies to me that the author is perhaps hired for a role that they were not fully qualified for, or that the manager hired them without fully appreciating the learning curve involved in mastering the position and that they are incapable of coaching somebody up that learning curve. So clearly, if they lacked that skill, they should have hired somebody with more experience. But this feeds into the comment I made earlier about the manager really just being weak here in the area of training and coaching employees. One additional thing that this paragraph might reveal is why the manager is giving the author such vague advice. If the manager assumes that the author knows more than they actually did, that could explain why they went into such little detail with their advice and their feedback. They assumed that they had a higher baseline of knowledge than was the case. A good example of this actually comes from the reality TV show, The Great British Bake Off. This is a show where people come together to bake various goods, and whoever survives by the end of the season is crowned the winner. Now, there was actually an episode a few years ago where the judges gave a list of instructions to the contestants about how to bake some macaroons or something similar to that. And the very first step on this list of instructions was make a jam. Now, if you are a baker, you might already understand what is involved with making a jam. Or if you are someone like me who rarely bakes, I cook, I just don't bake, I would be completely lost at that instruction. I would have no idea what to do and how to go about converting a fruit of some sort into an actual jam substance that you can then inject into a pastry. I would have no clue. I think this might be playing a little bit of a role here in this story. The manager might have actually been giving the author some good advice, but they were too inexperienced to really interpret and implement it properly. And that could be part of the reason why they're not performing up to the manager's expectation level. That being said, the fact that the manager does not seem to realize that their training and coaching is failing really indicates to me that they are either inexperienced at this or that people management is a weakness of theirs. I would bet that they are someone who's probably much more process and execution focused versus people leadership focused. Unfortunately, managers receive little, if any, training about how to do any of this. And this is what happens. People just suffer as a result. That is why it is very important that you learn how to go out and take control of your work environment from day one when you start, so you can go out and deal with a situation like this. You just can't count on having a good manager who is skilled and experienced and willing to go out and mentor you to the next level. You gotta take control of your career yourself And that's kind of why this channel exists, to go out and help you out with that. Finally, I totally sympathize with the author of this post about their work being micromanaged, second-guessed, and changed after the fact. I hate when that happens. Personally, whenever I apply for a new job, I always tell the hiring manager that I do best with someone who has a delegated leadership style, and I do terribly with someone who micromanages. If they're a micromanager, don't even consider me. Frankly, it's helped me out very well. It might help out this person very well. I will say though that with them being a more junior employee, someone who's kind of fresh onto the job market, this is going to happen a lot more because you just don't know that much. Your work is going to be edited, it's going to be changed before it gets sent out to the audience, to the customer, whoever receives the actual work product. This is why you got to put your nose to the grindstone and gain the skills, experiences, and credibility that you need to get out of this position. Now, let's read further. Flash forward to this week. My boss called me into their office and suggested I decide over our holiday break if this job is the right fit for me, because they sense I'm not happy or motivated. They also said that they've heard around that I'm not happy in the role. Then they said I'm unavailable sometimes, which displays my lack of dedication/motivation to the job. I was even more confused by this, considering I've missed only 3 calls of theirs since working here, and I called them back within the hour. And beyond this, I answer the messages on the weekends. I just got this job. I don't want to leave and start applying for jobs again. I want to find my footing and give it time, but I feel I'm being kicked out. It feels like this is a forewarning to firing me. Long story short, yes, he is totally trying to fire you. I would bet money that this guy's manager is going to go out and put him onto a corrective action plan during the next yearly performance review and use that as the excuse to go push him out of the company. The dead giveaway sign here is the whole line about the author not being responsive or communicative. A person's only missed 3 phone calls within however many months and responded back to the manager in the hour. They reply to messages over the weekend. This person is incredibly responsive. This is a complete nonsense argument, and the manager is just trying to find any excuse, any piece of evidence that he can use to go out and open up this cap and get this guy fired. That's all it is to it. I've personally been on the receiving end of this, and I've known others too been under cap plans. I was lucky to survive my own, but many aren't. I personally hope that the author of this post quits their job as soon as possible, because their manager will make their life a living hell if they don't get the hint. At this point, the relationship is broken beyond repair. You would need to have years of perfect performance in order to repair it to anything resembling normal. And it's just not worth the time, and it's not worth the labor. It would be better for everyone involved if the author of this post just went somewhere else and started fresh. There's plenty of companies out there and plenty of managers out there too who are capable of training and coaching and helping you reach that next level, because clearly this is not the place for it. Anyways, that's my take on the situation. This person got stuck in the place where there's not enough work for them, and with a manager who is incapable of training and coaching them to succeed. In essence, they were set up to fail and could push out the company. This can frankly happen to anybody, to any one of us. And that's why it is critically important that you learn how to go out and take control of your environment from day one of when you start a new role. Now, I'll go out and publish a video in the near future to give you some step-by-step instructions on what you can do to deal with a situation like this so that you can have a better fate than this person. But stay tuned for that. If you found this content at all helpful and at all interesting, please click the subscribe button below for more videos. I'll publish more content about how to get promoted, how to deal with the challenges that will arise before and after you get promoted, as well as developments in the job market and viewer Q&A. I'm here to help you out to maximize, get the most out of your career so you can really live the life that you truly do want to live. And I hope you'll take that away from this channel as I publish additional videos. Until next time.